before that, let me first check whether you can download it from Dell MS. I believe you should be able to, but I did not check. Okay, if you go to learning resources, if you go to learning resources, okay, not the learning resources. Let's go to laboratory activity. No, that is hidden, no? Okay, I'll have to unhide it. Let me do that first. Okay, just a moment. Edit, show selection. Okay, now you can go to lab activity. In the lab activity, lab documentation. Let me unhide that also. If you go to lab documentation and click on that, you can, what happened? It's plus what you complete. Right, you can find the laboratory instructional manual, the MX Excel workbook template, and the UC test proving ring calibration chart. Those are the 3 documents that are there. So you go to lab documentation, you can download those information and go through that. Let me also, I need to find the course material. Did I upload it here? Okay, you can always go to the faculty common course and download your course material. Let me check whether it is available here. No, I guess not. So you'll have to download the course material from there. I will also unhide the pre-lab activity. I will have to go through them and I will do the needful. It will take some time. Okay, so basically you can download the laboratory manual, the Excel sheet from the learning management system. So let me share with you. Okay, there is a comment. Discussion was not success. They hope to go with your guidance gradually. Okay, so that's fine with me. But I know that certain students like to do it by themselves, so that is fine. Only problem is either you have to get your doubts clarified during your learning process. So if you have some peer support, it will be very useful. So anyway, I will leave that to you all to decide. Let me share the lab instructional manual with you. First of all, I need to check whether the recording is on or not. Let's see. Yeah, it is on. Very good. Okay, your lab instructional manual gives some instructions here. I would like you all to read. If you come across any ambiguity, you can post your questions to the forum and I will certainly answer them. So basically, these are the practicals that you have to, lab practicals that you have to do. Starting with the particle size distribution, hydrometer method, and the sieve analysis. We will start with the sieve analysis. then the hydrometer method, then Atterberg limits, liquid and the plastic limit test, moisture unit weight relationship, unconfined compression test, uh, permeability test using constant head, permeability test using falling head, visual soil classification, and the one-dimensional consolidation test. So these are the practicals, and I have given the different weights for different practicals depending on their degree of importance. When you now, for instance, if you complete the one-dimensional consolidation test, uh, uh, that particular your response will be weighed by multiplying by 4.5. Okay, so the weighted average is computed as your practical grade. So we will discuss that later on. I will like you to, let's say for an example, I will go through the particle size distribution hydrometer method. Now, in this hydrometer method, I have given you certain objectives or learning outcomes for this particular lab activity. Okay, so basically what I want you to do is to be able to perform the hydrometer test, then compute percentage passing with particle size based on your test results. Number two, to plot the particle size distribution curve for a given fine grained soil, and further explanation is given in this course material. Of course, I will have to change this the course codes because this is given for the previous course in the interim curriculum. So I will change those things. I will edit and submit the revised version. So until such time, you can go with this information that is there available under the course cvx4343. So the test is used to determine the percentage fraction of fines, that is particles passing 0.063 millimeter sieve. The fine fraction is separated from the coarse fraction by washing fines through a 0.063 millimeter sieve. Now, you will also can watch the relevant video clip and see how that person who demonstrated does the test. And also you can follow the procedure. I have indicated here the apparatus required, then the procedure is given, and what are the observations that you have to make, and also this is the table where you have to fill your observations. So in order to do the computations, you have to use the hydrometer calibration equation. Now, we have several hydrometers in the lab. So you have to check the serial number of the hydrometer that you are using in order to do the practical. Okay. So then let's say your hydrometer is 807153A. Then the parameter, this linear equation will hold. HR is equal to 214.5 minus 3.9667 RH. So of course, you have to know what these parameters mean, HR and RH. Now they are all defined here in this section over here. So I would like you to go through them, and eventually you'll have to fill this table. So the computations are given as to how you can find the particle size diameter and also the percentage passing as shown here. Now, I will also draw your attention to the course material. Let me share this with you. It's the course material, maybe this one. Right. Now, if you check the course material, I'll go to the table of contents. Table of contents here. So, knowing soils of engineering significance, it is important that you go through this section. Then there is a section called soil and rock as a three-phase particulated system. Then the section is towards specifying engineering soils. Okay, that is page number 28. If you go to page 28, okay, here you go. It talks about the sieve analysis test. That is also practical that you need to do. So you can read this section and also check the instructional manual and you will have the required basic knowledge about the practical. Okay. So during these day schools, maybe if you have gone through some of these sections, if you have any questions, we can have a short, let's say, 15-minute time so that you can post your questions to the chat. And I will give you the necessary feedback to proceed. It doesn't mean I'm going to answer all the questions, but I will indicate to you where to find the answers. Okay. All right. So you better go to the sieve analysis test lesson. Then there is the hydrometer test explanation is given, and you can get that information also. What are the steps involved, etc. There is a very brief description. And also, I expect you to watch the video clip about the hydrometer test. So if you need further information, you can Google it. There are lots of information given on the World Wide Web. You can read those things or even watch short video clips and upgrade your knowledge. So eventually, I will come back to the instructional manual. Let me share it again. Okay. So now I have been discussing about the hydrometer test. There will be a checklist. Okay. So I have given you the checklist in order to ensure that you have completed these items in the Excel sheet, which I will show you in a moment. So this will help you to enter your results on the Excel sheet and also do the computations and also present your output. Okay, let me show you the Excel sheet now. Let me share it. Okay. Okay, now you can see, I believe, you go to hydrometer worksheet. It will display in a moment. Now you will see a similar table created here. Okay, you can compare with the table given in the self-instructional course, the laboratory instructional manual. So basically, you will have to enter the date. Now you will see that in the Excel, we have used a certain format to enter the date. Okay, then you can enter the clock time using this particular Excel format. Then you can compute the elapsed time. For instance, you start the test at 0 minute, then oops, I put 0 here. Then you take the next reading at, according to this, 30 seconds. Okay, let us just assume it is 30 seconds. So here you can write 30 seconds as 0.5 minutes. Of course, if you are a bit knowledgeable about Excel, you can program these cells based on the information given in these cells. For instance, you can convert this cell or fill this cell by considering the information given in this cell minus the information given in these two cells. So that the difference will give you the elapsed time in minutes. You can check whether the answer is correct, and then you can copy it downwards. Then you will also have to record the time, temperature. Then you can compute the eta value, which is the viscosity. Now, if I go back to the instructional manual, you will find there was a table which lists the viscosity in millipascal seconds with temperature. So you can enter that value, and then you can put the hydrometer reading here. And these green colored areas are basically for you to do the computations. So when you do the computations, you will have to link to some of the information given in this particular spreadsheet over here or over there, and then do the computations in the columns shown in this light green. Now, what I have identified here is called the areas given in like light blue or gray is where you enter your readings. Okay, so I will not go into detail at this point in time, but I would want you to go through those resources and come prepared to ask certain questions to obtain certain clarifications if you wish. Okay. And finally, I have given you a graph sheet where you can plot the particle size versus percentage passing. So of course, you should know how to set the x-axis and the y-axis. Now here I have already linked whatever values that you compute here in this particular column is the particle size. If you take this particular column, it is the percentage passing. So now what I don't want you to do is to change the scale. Now you will see that this is a typical graph that we use to plot the particle size distribution. So I do not want to make a fancy graph out of it. I do not want to change the colors and to make it more attractive. None of the things I do not want you to do, but simply plot a proper graph that is visible. So after you plot the graph, of course, you will have to compute the seed size range and seed fraction, clay size range and clay fraction. Okay. Now all these things are given in your course material. So it is important that you read that lesson properly. So by the time you are prepared to do the lab, you will also have the necessary knowledge. I would say approximately 70% of your course material. Okay, so it will take some time. Those who are knowledgeable or motivated, or those who have time, will move at a faster rate. Those who are slow or does not have enough time to devote to this course to do the lab can move at a greater, at a lesser pace. So that is fine. So only thing is you will have to complete the pre-lab activity with sufficient time to perform the lab activity and also do the computations and submit your report. So I sincerely hope that you will spend more time now preparing and completing the pre-lab activity than waiting till the last moment, because that is not going to work out for you all. Okay, with time your requirements will also increase and you will not have sufficient time to spend on the lab activity, and eventually you will drop the course without completing the lab. Okay. Right. So let us continue with this discussion during the next lab. Let me just check when the next lab is. Let me open my diary. Last time there was a mix-up with the dates, and as a result, I had to postpone the day school. So I hope that that will not happen to me again. Let me check my diary. Maybe I can also share it with you. Okay. Let me just. Okay. Let me share this with you. I'll just show you. Yes. Right. So we look at column number the column number C. Sorry, column number G and column number H. So we officially started the academic year on 6th of May, and I have had the first day school on 9th, second on the 11th, then the third is today, and I have here put the number of weeks as well from the starting date. So this is the first week, second week onwards, and at some stage I will give you a video clip for you to watch, and you will have to write a reflective learning log on that video clip. So I will later, during a day school, I will explain to you how you could write a reflective learning log. So the first day school, first lab activity is planned for June 7th. So by that time, if you are not cleared the pre-lab activity, that is fine. We will skip this activity and we'll move on. So this time there is not much of a pressure because there is a drastic reduction in student numbers in the civil engineering BTech program. So we will not have a pressure in scheduling the activities. So I have scheduled the lab activities as per the activity diary. Then the TMA1 due is due after week number 10. So I will post the TMA1 after, let's say, the 4th day school. So you can gradually work on TMA1 and submit it by July 9. So it's important for you to complete it during the course of that period rather than waiting the last moment to submit your TMA1. Now, it is also important for you to know that all submissions will be made on the LMS. So I will set the date and the time of the submission, and it is important that you upload it before that particular date and the time. Otherwise, it will not allow you to upload it. So if you have not been able to upload it, then do not send it to my emails. You can, that means we will not consider that particular TMA. You can do the next one. So what I suggest is, if you expect some internet interruptions in your area, you would want to upload the assignment, please do it ahead of time, at least 1 hour before. Upload it. Don't try to upload it at the last moment. And if you find that more students are uploading or internet connection has some interruptions, then of course you will not be able to submit the assignment. So don't send emails that saying that you were not able to upload the assignment, because I have already told you, if you anticipate some situations like that, you better do it ahead of time. So don't put the problem back to me, because that is not going to help you at all. Okay. Then you have CAT 1 scheduled after the 11th week. So I will also discuss with you what sort of sections that will come on the CAT 1. So basically, let's look at the eligibility due date. OCAM is due on 31st of December. So roughly you will have more than, let's say, about 34 weeks before the OCAM is due. So for learning purposes, you will have 33 weeks. And the course material, you will have, I believe, about 15 sessions. So roughly, you will have to decide on the pace that you will cover those 15 sessions. Now, also remember, you will have to give space for the CAT 1 and the CAT 2 preparation and also the examination. So this 33 weeks will eventually reduce to about 30 weeks. So on the average, you will have to maintain a learning rate of about 2 sessions per week. One session every 2 weeks. Okay. So on the average, now it doesn't mean that you wait till the first week is over, then you start on the session number one, and so on. It will not work that way, because your learning will not be linear. Sometimes you might get certain other activities scheduled in other courses that you have registered for. So then you will have to spend more time attending to those requirements. So since you are following the engineering degree, this planning of and scheduling of activities is very much important. whether it's an activity you might do in the industry, in your workplace, or whether you are doing it during your learning period. So we will leave it up to you to decide how you want to, what pace that you want to use when you are learning. We are not going to interfere with it, but we would like to advise you at least if you can finish the first 5 to 6 sessions when you have time right now, please do that because that will give you a head start. Okay, because later on you will have to cope up with lots of other work in other courses, and if you are scheduling your own activities, please schedule it uh, using your activity diary. Schedule all the activities so that you can plan out your activities and do your learning without going into a crisis situation. So you are adults and you are not kids. So we leave it up to you to decide how you want to proceed. So as I've already mentioned, you have to pass the course, not each session. So sum of all the sessions will not be equal to the course or the knowledge that you will acquire in this course. So which means you cannot study certain selected sections or sessions and hope to get a passing grade. So please be mindful about that. I also had mentioned this during an earlier occasion. Because all these sessions are interconnected one way or the other. So without, if you plan to miss out certain sections, then that is not going to be helpful in your learning. Okay, so also don't think that I would want just 40 marks, so I will 40%. So therefore, I will only complete 40% of the whatever the total number of sessions in the course material, and that will also not work. Okay, you will end up with 20% sometimes, and that mark is not good enough for you to be eligible to sit the final exam. Okay, so I will stop for today and we'll continue with our discussion next time. So meanwhile, I will expect you to come prepared to ask any questions from sessions, let's say 1 to 4, when we meet next time. I will try to help you all by giving feedback on your queries. Of course, give me a few days. I will set up the forums. You can also post to your forums any questions that you want to ask. I will certainly help you by showing the path. So don't expect for me to give you direct answers. I will help you with your learning. Again, the learning has to be done by yourselves and not. I have already learned the stuff, so I don't think that is going to help you at all. But then the learning has to happen within yourself. So please engage through the LMS during the day schools by asking questions and reflecting on what you have learned. If you do not understand something, first instance, I think you should Google it and see whether you can get help. And maybe 90% of the time you will get, you'll be able to get that required clarification. But do not drop that and move to the next level without seeking any clarification. because each session is connected to each other. So if you miss one part and if you move forward, then later you will realize that that is not going to be very helpful for you. So while conducting this day's course, I will also time to time go to certain questions that are given in the past papers. And I will, by going through it, my objective is to help you to identify the level with regards to the action verbs, the expectations, so that you can formulate an answer to those questions to the expected level of whatever expectations. So it is important because usually I find that when you, if there are certain learners who learn at a surface, so their answers are not comprehensive enough to obtain full marks for that particular section in the question paper. Of course, you receive some marks, but then most of the time when you totally cut, it won't come closer to 40 marks. So this is the problems that I have to cope up with. So this is why I'm telling you all this now itself, so that you will have sufficient time to prepare yourselves. Okay, so I guess we can wind up for today. Let me check the chat in past papers and sessions also. So if you have doubts, then of course you have to ask. So you can, if you want to ask now, you can switch on the mic and ask your question. Otherwise, you can post it here in the chat. So we will stay for another 5 more minutes. If you have any questions, of course, if you have questions in the past papers, I have not got the past papers with me right now. We can discuss them. What I suggest is, give me a couple of days to set up the forums. You can post those questions to the forum. Then when I meet you all next time, I can discuss some of these questions. Of course, I may not give you the direct answer. I will try to show the rationale of each and every question and how it is related to the expected learning outcomes of the course. You will also find the learning outcomes even in the introductory session in the LMS. Please go through them carefully because it's important for you to know the expectations of this course so that you can align yourself when you are doing your learning. Okay, lesson 2, activity 2.1 and 2.3. Let us briefly go there and see. Lesson 2. I would like to know the page number. Activity 2.1. Takes a while to go there. Let me close this.
Page number is 16. Sir.
Which page is it?
16. Page number 16 and 17.
15.
16. 16 and 17.
1 5, right?
1 6.
Okay, let me. Computer is too slow. That's why I cannot move around that fast. Okay. Why this 6? Okay, let me see. 2.2 you said, no? Oh boy, it's going somewhere else. Let me go to page number 15. Um, okay. Now, knowing different, you said what is the activity 2.2? Okay. Um,
2.1,
2.1.
and
Okay.
2.3.
2.1. Place a pan over sand's heap. Observe whether the heap could carry your weight. If you stand on top, the plank, okay, so I would like you to do it. So I believe you understand the instructions given there.
Yes, sir.
You have a sand heap, place a plank is a piece of uh, maybe uh, some hardboard or wooden plank over the sand heap. So you will, let's say initially you had a conical shape. Now when you put a plank on top, the top part will be flattened a little bit, and the plank uh, will rest on the sand heap, right? So at least there we know that the sand could carry the weight of the plank. Okay. Then what I want you to do is you can see how the load of the plank is taken by the sand heap. Okay. Sand heap will have a conical shape, and when you put a load on top, you can check whether the whole thing collapses or whether it holds. So if you realize that it could take the weight of the plant, then you will have to think, how does the sand heap carry the weight of the plant? Okay. So of course, as we already know, uh, if you consider your weight, if you are standing on a floor, that means your weight is transferred to the ground or the earth that you are standing upon. So likewise, you will have to imagine how the weight of the plant is being transferred to the ground. Okay. Then it says, okay, next step is observe whether the heap could carry your weight. Now you can check whether you can stand on the plank and still see whether the sand heap will remain intact, whether it will goes down and you will eventually uh, end up on the ground, whether the sand heap will hold your weight or not. So I think it is very simple, the explanation. The plank distributes your weight evenly. So whether now you have to think how your load, which is applied on top of the plank, is transmitted to the ground. So the same concepts will apply when you are constructing a building uh, uh, on a shallow foundation or shallow footing. So the load of the building is transferred to the footing, and the footing will eventually transfer that load to the soil on the ground. So what happens next? If it cannot take that load, obviously that foundation will start to settle. Just like when you are standing on a plank supported by a heap of sand. So you'll have to, all the instructions are there. So what I expect you to do is to do this and experience it for yourself. So without experiencing things, you can't just memorize things. And the problem with that is when I ask you a different question, whatever knowledge that you acquired in this activity cannot be applied there.
So if it is, the sand heap is well created, the heap settlement is low. Is it right?
So you'll have to see how the particles are arranged within the soil matrix in the heap. Okay. So you know that you get solid particles and air voids in between, right? If it is a dry sand heap, it is not moist. Okay, so then what causes the particles to move away or fall away? Okay, how are particles connected to each other? Okay, now for instance, what happens? Just a hypothetical case, you repeat the same experiment with a set of marbles. So imagine, now you have to imagine because typically you can't do that. You have a assume that you have a heap of marbles and you try to create that conical heap using a set of marbles. Then you have to imagine what would happen when you create such a heap of marbles, whether it can stay intact without collapsing. Okay, if it cannot stay intact without collapsing, what causes it to collapse? Okay, so these are the things that I want you to think about uh, because once you, it's a thought experiment. Okay, so you have to explore and see. Eventually, you should try to find the answer to give for activity 2.1. Okay, so that is the purpose of doing it. Okay, so it's good that you're asking questions like that. So I will give you all feedback so that you can go home or like you can reflect upon that question again on a different date or even while traveling. Maybe you can make a short note and you get an opportunity to think whenever you are free. Okay, you see, you have to also realize how the brain works. Okay, brain. You can't schedule things, get the brain to do things in a schedule. Okay. Only thing is, if you remember things, brain can start processing at a certain point and then process it and then go to something else and process that knowledge after that. But then it will remember what you have already processed if you have paid enough attention. So these thought experiments are very valuable. Gives you all enough inputs to understand uh, how granular materials carry load. Okay, if you understood that concept properly, then of course you have solved the puzzle because we'll be dealing with granular material. Now, for instance, if you take sugar, that is a granular material. Sand is a granular material. Even the wheat flour is a granular material. What about rice, dal? I mean, uncooked. They are all made out of grains of different shapes, different characteristics, different weights, different specific gravities. And you have to figure out how each of these parameters would contribute when a heap of that material is loaded from the top. Okay. So these are all thought experiments. So thinking that way, of course, if you ask me certain questions, I will give you some feedback for you to proceed. Okay. So maybe think about activity 2 also. We will, if you want to share your information with other learners, that's fine. I will set up the forum threads for you to do that. I very much encourage you to get involved in the discussion. I doesn't mean that I have to explain everything to you. Somebody else makes an explanation. That's good enough. Of course, if there are certain drawbacks in that explanation, I will intervene. I will make my observations as well. So this is the process of learning. Okay. All right. So I guess that's it for today. Open learning still shows as 2020. Now I have answered this question. So I wonder why you're asking this question. For you, it's 2020? All right, I got the question. I'm sorry. Now, can you post your S number, please, to the forum? I want your S number, not the registration number. Okay. Thank you. Let me see where you are. Okay, you are not registered, that is for sure. Let me try to enroll you. All right. Yeah, you are there. Yadehige. CS. Right. So I have enrolled you to 2022 LMS. You should be able to access using your, if you have changed your first password before, you can use the same password. Your username, I believe, is your S number, and the password initials, the password that we have set was your NIC number. But if you have changed the password, please use the same password. If you have forgotten the password, you can request the password to be sent to the ousl Gmail account, and then you can reset your password. Okay. Any such problems facing other students not being able to access the LMS? Okay, there are several. Let me see. I'll tell you, why don't you send an email to my email address? I will post the email address. I will set up and send you a reply. Okay. Let me, how do I? How do I send? Okay. Let me send my email address. I think it is in the activity diary. All right. So send a request to this email address. I will set up those. What I need is your S number. And also maybe you can mention your name with initials so that I can cross-check before creating an account for you. Okay. All right. So those who want to leave can leave. I will stop this session in about 3 minutes time. Okay, but please state your change your name to the registration number in the Zoom session, because I want to, let me see whether all of you have written the registration number instead of something else. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Okay, some of you all Chatura Madhusanka Seneviratna. You have to state your registration number. So go to your name and in the participants list, and there are 3 dots at the end. There you can say rename. So rename your name to your registration number so that I can extract the registration number. Ravindu Madhushan also can do the same thing. Others have put the S number. What I want is not the S number here, and the participants, please put your registration number. Okay, before you leave, please do those corrections so that I can keep a record of the participants. Okay, so then we'll wind up for today. I will leave it on for another 5 more minutes so you can do those corrections and then leave. Okay. I will stop the recording now.